Well, let's chat now, should we, to Jenny Chapman, joining us as the Shadow Office. Hello.
Morning.
Did the Labour Party know about the reputation of Mr Pincher before these allegations surfaced?
I think there were widespread rumours. I find it impossible to believe that the Prime Minister wasn't aware of them, particularly as we've now had reports about Boris Johnson himself saying that Chris Pincher was handsy, that he was Pincher by name, Pincher by nature. The idea that he shouldn't have had concerns because he didn't know anything, I think, is just beyond most people's belief.
How much did Labour know?
Well, we heard rumours just like everybody else. We were surprised that this person was put in a position where he'd be responsible for welfare and discipline in Parliament on behalf of the Conservative Party. You know, the Labour Party isn't consulted on who the government puts in its whip's office. But I can tell you that had this happened under Keir Starmer's leadership in the Labour Party, it would not have been handled like this at all. You know, Keir would not be thinking, what's best for me, what's best for my friends. He would put the national interest, Parliament's interest, before his own.
What rumours had you heard?
I'd heard rumours because there had been allegations made and complaints had been made previously, I believe. So, you know, that's all in the public domain. So it's not as if the Labour Party was getting some kind of insider information that nobody else had and keeping it to itself. These things were known and were documented, and, you know, it was widely circulating. So, you know, despite all of that, what kind of person decides, you know what we need to do with this guy? We need to give him a really big promotion, because that's what Boris Johnson did. And he did it because it's his mate. And we think that's wrong.
Why didn't you bring it to the attention of the Commons authorities if you'd heard these rumours?
The Commons, everybody knew, Kay, honestly. This is.
So why didn't you bring it to the attention of the authorities? Why didn't you make a formal complaint?
There were complaints that had already been made. That's the point. And Boris Johnson knew that those complaints had already been made. He chose to ignore that fact because it's his friend. Contrast that with the way Neil Parish was treated. Quite rightly, he resigned his position as a member of Parliament when it became clear he'd been watching pornography in the House of Commons. That's absolutely right that he took that step. But because Neil Parish was not one of Boris Johnson's friends, he was dealt with in a completely different way. That's wrong. That's not how you should run a government. This is a group of people who are running our country, making decisions that affect our mortgages, our pensions, our children's lives, and we think that that's the wrong way of doing it.
So just to clarify, you're accusing the Prime Minister of sleaze, cronyism and double standards?
I could not put it better myself. But what we've done today, formally, the chair of the Labour Party, Annalisa Dodds, has written to the Prime Minister asking the questions that every journalist has been asking over the weekend about when did he know, what did he know, and why was that decision taken to put Mr Pincher in that position. That letter's gone and we shall see what happens next.
Let's move on, shall we? Talk about strikes. Second week of barrister strikes beginning today. We saw quite a few Labour MPs, including shadow ministers, on the picket lines with the RMT. I'm not aware that any action has been taken against them by Keir Starmer, even though he said that they shouldn't do it. Are you? I
don't know. I'm not. Probably most people are glad that I'm not responsible for discipline in the Parliamentary Labour Party. But those decisions will be taken by the Chief Whip, and I'm not privy to those discussions at all.
Yes, it's tricky, isn't it? Because, you know, you're busy, so you don't always know what's going on. Prime Minister is running the country, he doesn't always know what's going on.
But why did he say Pincher by name, Pincher by nature?
Well, we don't know that he did. We don't know that he said that. We know that Dominic Cummings said that he said that, and some of the things that Dominic Cummings has said has proven to be economical with the actuality.
It's not just Dominic Cummings, though, is it? And we have government ministers, I think, corroborating those sorts of comments. So I think it's very, you know, look as well at the comment that the Number 10 put out, that Boris Johnson was not aware of any specific allegations. Now, I think the use of the word specific that word is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence. And, we find it very, very hard to believe that the Prime Minister didn't know about these allegations, decided to put his friend in that top job anyway, and we think that's wrong. And
Darren, please. OK, let me move on. Sorry.
Yeah.
Darren, please could give their findings on the investigation into Sir Keir Starmer by as early as today, is what my newspapers are telling me this morning. You could be looking for a new leader by the end of the week.
I don't think so. I think, obviously, we do need to wait and see what Durham Police conclude. I have a huge amount of respect for Durham Police. I live in Durham Police area. But, Keir has said what he said about the outcome of that investigation, and we haven't had it yet. So let's wait and see what the police have concluded.
I read with interest this morning that although the leader, even if he is fined, could offer his resignation, the NEC, the ruling body of the Labour Party, doesn't have to accept that resignation. Do you think that if he does offer his resignation over this, they should accept it?
I think Keir's been very clear about how he views this. He stood up and said that if he was fined, that he would resign. That is what he said. So I think I think lots of people are trying to figure out different ways that he could maybe get away from that or distance from that comment that he made. But, I think that because he is somebody with a huge amount of integrity, he was very clear about what he would do. What the NEC would choose to do clearly is a matter for the NEC. But I think Keir could not have been clearer in his statements on this.
So you think they should accept his resignation if it comes to it?
I think it's difficult to imagine a situation as you've just described, but let's see what happens when Durham, tell us the outcome of their investigation. I'm confident that Keir isn't going to get fined. He's somebody I know reasonably well, and I just cannot see a situation where he is going to get fined in the way that people think. I was reading on Twitter over the weekend that he's been fined and kept it a secret. It's just nonsense. Let's let Durham Police do their job.
Twitter, that font of all knowledge. It's good to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed for joining us. Much appreciated.